we should just be embracing the fact that change is always going to happen, and change is good because things grow, things die, and rebirths happen. And I think that's really an exciting part of life.
Welcome back to the Dangerous Women podcast. I'm your host, Colleen Conlon, and I am so excited for today's episode because I am bringing in my very best friend, Marissa Hamera, who has also been in the fitness industry for a very long time. And she was also a part of the New York City fitness scene in the boutique space. And if you know anything about that time in fitness history, it was quite a big deal to be a part of. So I think we'll touch a little bit on that today. But the main reason why I'm bringing her on is so that you can listen to this conversation about how fitness can change and it can evolve depending on the season of life that you're in. So without further ado, here we go. Welcome to the Dangerous Women podcast, Marissa. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Colleen. Thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm excited to be here. I feel like I'm just trying to get my brain straight for this conversation because I'm just transitioning out of like mom mode. So hopefully everything's coherent, guys.
So can you actually tell us a little bit about mom mode? Because I feel like typically you hear like mom mode, it's like I have one kid or maybe I have two kids or maybe I have kids that are just like spread apart. What do you have?
Yeah, I got a whole boy crew currently. I have a set of twins, two boys that are 4 months old and a 2-year-old boy as well, who is 1 week into potty training, and 4-month-olds who just came off of their 4-month appointment this morning. So we have a football team basically here.
Did you ever think that was going to be your life, especially when you think back to like maybe 20-something-year-old you who was just like all about the fitness days?
You know what's funny? I think growing up and being young, I wanted a million children. And then as I got more into my dance career, which feels like a lifetime ago, oh, I will have, 1 or 2 kids and they will attend, practice with me, and they will just sit there so quietly and patiently and watch me have an hour and a half class. I don't know where I thought that was actually going to happen. It's not. Even with 4-month-olds, it's like shuttling kids, going to work, doing, feeding. There's a lot of moving pieces in the day.
Would you say routine just looks different at this point in time, even from like maybe 5 years ago?
Totally different than 5 years ago. I think that, yeah, I could have never imagined that this is what the day-to-day looked like. And routine is a very generous word to use. Like an attempt at a routine, there's so much structure in some ways, and then there's a lot of flexibility in other ways, which, talking about today's topic, I think is actually very reflective as well for my training life.
Well, can we take it back to the beginning? Can we kind of get a picture of what has fitness looked like for you once you got into the scene? And maybe we can rewind even further back, starting with dancing days. Who are you and who have you been as a athlete?
Yeah, sure. So I'll make this part a little brief, but I got into dance at the age of 3. I had been told that I was put in dance because I was chubby, and my mom wanted me to lose weight at 3 because that's normal. And dance turned into a passion and a want to be career. I danced all the way up until I was about 24, and that much emphasis of dance and gymnastics and tumbling and all the things that went into this younger athletic version of myself led to a lot of injury and led to a lot of overuse and a lack of understanding of my body during that time, because I think that people thought you were too young to be taught, which I strongly disagree with. And that lack of understanding led me to want to seek out help for myself. And through that help, I started to learn more about my body. I realized that I was going to need to make a transition into the fitness space. And after doing what was my goal, which was dancing abroad, I came back into the city and said, here's the transition into fitness. I'm going to work the front desk at a studio. And there is the boutique fitness scene of New York City circa 2014. And that's where it really began.
I thought of you this morning because I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw this woman who was talking about the New York City fitness scene in like the 2010s. And she was, oh, Liquiteria and Soul Cycle and naming all this stuff. And then she was like, does anybody remember Model Fit? And I was like, Marissa.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if you knew, but I also worked at Liquiteria. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. Did you?
Yeah, I did. I
This
worked
woman
there for like
couldn't this woman
two
couldn't get
years.
enough of the green smoothie. She was like going off about it in a 30-second video. 2 years?
Oh, yeah, for 2 years. It was a smoothie place. I feel like we were like the creators of the acai bowl. It was so cool. And um, when cycle instructors would come in and get like their smoothie, like their bowl, their acai bowl, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it was like a celebrity coming in. You got to make their like smoothie or their bowl. That was the scene.
Oh my gosh. So,
Yeah.
Model Fit, for people who don't know what that is, that's where you started working the front desk and eventually started training. Can you give us a little bit of background? What is that?
Yeah. So Model Fit was a studio, which contrary to its, yes, it did train models, but contrary to its name, it did have a great background in movement and what movement looked like, which was a lot different than what movement was looking like at that time, where it was like a lot of CrossFit and more higher intensity and HIIT classes. It was group training that really focused on three-dimensional movement. And the founder went to the Gray Institute, Justin Gelband, and started to pull in these like-minded trainers who also wanted to focus on movement and moving functionally. And we all went through Gray Institute. But I wound up kind of getting there, just working this front desk. I was also still working Liquiteria. I was teaching dance. I think I was nannying also, doing a million things in the city. And one day with the owner, we went to go get ear piercings. And I was taking class, of course, for free. And I had my dance background. And the front desk had called me while getting ear piercings. And they said, hey, so-and-so never showed up for her class. And there's a full class here. Who's going to teach? And the founder, Vanessa, looked at me and she's like, Martha, you're on. If you teach this class, I will buy your ear piercing tomorrow. I said, okay.
What a sell.
Yeah, it's like, great. An ear piercing? I'm in. So went back to the studio. I put on a Model Fit shirt and I just taught this class with my base of my knowledge of movement and what I had seen, and just replicated classes that I had taken. And she's, wow, you're very good at this. Why don't you start training? And she paid for my education to start going through Gray Institute courses. And I started training there. And I also started doing one-on-one sessions with my now husband, who was there because I was coming out of that dance career and working through some injuries. And I realized that the type of movement that they were doing at the studio was also like rehab based. And I could learn a lot about my body and fix my body. Jason, who is my husband, who was a trainer there, who was going through Gray Institute, kind of used me also as practice at the time. So while I had a lot of lower back pain, SI pain, plantar fasciitis, which I now know is all interconnected, I was learning so much just going through this rehab and training process. And then I was able to implement that into classes as well, and then implement that into even teaching dancers about their bodies and giving them something else to kind of cross train with. that's where it all really started. And it's still kind of going from that, where this functional movement, moving in all three planes of motion, the way that our bodies naturally move, is the foundation, the basis of how I work with my today clients, who are pretty much all females, just looking to hang on to their bodies for a little bit longer and treat them well.
I love that. And I think what's I think what's so cool about all of this is how this piece of your training has been a staple from
Yeah.
what, for how long now? Like 10 years?
Yeah, about 10 years.
And
About 10 years.
even though that has been like a constant thing, would you say the like amount of training or the focus in on training has been something that like has ebbed and flowed over the last 10 years?
Yes, it has definitely ebbed and flowed. Like, from the point of being a dancer, there was always the idea that you have to be doing more and more is more. And, you're never really resting. And that has completely changed to today, where prioritizing sleep and rest and taking better care of myself, and realizing when more becomes too much and that less is actually more a lot of the time. That is something I would have never thought that I could come to see or come to terms with, and actually feel comfortable and okay with that. Back in the day, like a training 6 days a week was completely normal, and that was what I wanted to be doing. And today I'm like, yeah, 6 days a week is probably not going to fit in with my lifestyle. Let's be realistic. I also don't think my body could necessarily handle that same amount of intensity, what 6 days a week looked like, because there was no even ebb and flow in the week of training. It was just go hard 6 days a week. Today, it's wow, I can really get in 2 solid training sessions a week. And then I can have, maybe another session that looks a little less intense. That's a huge win for me today.
I think it's really challenging when I talk to different clients who are moms or newer moms. It's really hard to figure out how do I make the time to continue to take care of myself. And a conversation I had recently with a client was, I'm used to training 5 times a week, and it just feels like I'm almost letting myself down that now I can only train twice a week. But I think sometimes people forget, when you have new responsibility, when you have other lives that you need to think about because they can't take care of themselves at this point in time, the priorities just shift, and that's okay. It's not to say, you won't get back there eventually if that's what you want to happen, but
Right.
it's okay for things to look a little bit differently for a season of life.
It is. And it is hard to say this is where I was and this is where I am, but you hit the nail on the head when it's just like your priorities have changed and your life has changed, right? And because your life has changed so much, having a kid, I mean, your life has changed in so many ways. Your body has changed tremendously too. You have to realize that with that change comes other changes. And early on, it's hard, especially after your first kid. I mean, I was super consistent training. So Nico is our first and our 2-year-old, as Colleen knows. I trained with Colleen kettlebells pretty intensely, like throughout that entire pregnancy, actually, until I got to the end. Like, I have videos training up until 2 weeks before having Nico with the bell.
The
Uh,
most amazing videos. I remember just like watching you on the screen and being like, is she really pregnant? And it wasn't until you turned profile that I was like, oh no, she's totally pregnant.
she's pregnant. Yeah. I, it was actually amazing. And I'm so happy that I had that throughout that stage of life. And I felt super accomplished. And then I have this kid who changes everything. And hormonally, you're just all over the place too. And you don't have that staple of training or that consistency of training for a while because you're also just trying to figure out everything. Like, what does feeding a baby look like? What does this cry? And you are the primary caretaker for this child. So a lot of other things in your life gets pushed to the side. And it feels kind of crappy when you've made so much progress that you have to start again. Initially, it feels really crappy, but it's reflecting back now. I think I had to be I think it really took me like 6 months to get back into training with you. I was doing like not semi-private. What were you offering at the time? Small group training. I went back into doing small group training with Colleen and kettlebells. And it is actually really interesting to see, wow, I am actually still strong, but I'm rediscovering my body. It's different now. And it feels like I'm moving for the first time again in some ways, but I'm noticing different things. And it became a learning opportunity. And now the second time around after pregnancy and delivering, and this time with twins and having kids super close together, which is not necessarily recommended, but I did it and I'm fine and I'm here. It's another
I'm
rediscovery.
here.
I'm here. It's another moment to rediscover parts of my body. And they were two different deliveries too. So my first was a vaginal delivery, and I can tell there was much more reintegration of my pelvic floor after the first one. And then after the second one, which was a C-section, I feel like there was much more. And listen, I think pelvic floor and core are completely connected. I know that they are. I call it the pelvic core, but it feels a little bit more in isolation where I'm trying to re-tap back into my core, primarily because now there is a scar and there was a loss of feeling for a bit. And now I'm trying to figure out how to reintegrate all of that back together.
So I would imagine that is the primary fitness focus at this point in time.
100%. Yes. And after Nico, I felt great to get back into kettlebells. And after these twins, I'm like, whew, this 12 kilos, really rough. I'm like, I'm starting slow. I got back into fitness a lot faster this time around. So 3 months postpartum, I have got back into my routine. But even that, was a huge success and win from taking 6 months the first time around. Now it could take 3 months to come back and come back into myself. But I'm starting slower. I'm like, now my primary thing is I'm going to Pilates. And a lot of that is just because it's getting me out of the house. Like, wow, I can get in my car and I can leave my house for an hour and 15 minutes because the studio is literally 5 minutes away. So that's where I listen to my podcast also in that car ride there and back. And it takes me like 2 weeks to finish a podcast.
I think that's so interesting that that might be a reason as to why you go somewhere or you try a particular type of workout. I think it's always so important to ask people, like, why are you doing this thing? And I think sometimes it's for, you know, reconnecting to a part of your body, or with the kettlebells you're trying to build strength, you're trying to build muscle, but like maybe you just need a place that feels like a safe place where you can just like mentally block out everything else and just feel like I can take a breath.
Yes, yes, completely. And first time around, that was the front room of my house with the kettlebell, shutting that door. That, hour of time in that room was that. And now it's okay. Now I have a child who's also running around this house. So, and he loves to also join and put on a band and try to lift the bells and stuff, which is so sweet. And I love to be able to show him that I am working out. Actually, I kind of go back and forth in this in my mind. I'm like, should I stay home so that he can see that his mom is actually like working out and trying to get strong? Or is my mental health a little more important at this point in time and I need to take a little break?
I would imagine it's probably one of those things where it's, some days it's one way, other days it's another way, and there's not a right or wrong answer.
Yeah,
It fluctuates.
totally. And I think just that thought, there's no right or wrong answer in your training, so long as you are taking care of yourself, not, not putting yourself at risk for injury as best as you can. You're doing something that's safe for you, but you're moving. That's the answer.
Yeah, I think that is really the baseline. It's taking the accountability to get yourself moving and in whatever capacity that looks like in whatever season of life. So long as you understand like why you're doing it and you're not in a like a
Yeah.
situation where it's almost like I'm doing this expecting X result, but doing that thing is by no means actually going to get you that result is where we might want to like re-examine what the fuck are you doing?
Totally. And in my head, I go with that sometimes too. I'm like, man, I want to look the way I did when I was doing swing to snatch. But yeah, but I'm not doing anything that I was doing when I went through swing to snatch at this point in time. So I know that's not a realistic goal. My goal is to get myself to a place where I can get back into training that looked like swing to snatch so that I can look like that at some point again, you know? But the aesthetic part is very like last at the end of the goal pole for me at this point in time, where that used to be, again, the first thing that I would think about in terms of training.
And that's okay. And I think, well, I mean, I feel very confident saying this that once the boys are a little bit more capable of doing things for themselves or just becoming more independent, your goals probably will shift again.
Totally. I think so too. And even as Nico really mainly is changing too, where he wants to be outside and running around and playing soccer and playing football. I didn't grow up doing any of those things. So even part of my goals are like, whew, got to get my cardiovascular health back in check here because I'm just running around with him and, kicking a ball, throwing a ball, doing things that I didn't really necessarily grow up doing that now become part of, all right, the fitness goal is also based on this new lifestyle that I'm living.
Being able to keep up with your kids and having fun with your kids and doing things that your kids also want to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something that now you get to take into account that you don't do when you're a single person.
No. Yeah, you don't. You don't. Your training is, I think, a lot more about yourself, and that's fine. That's totally fine. It's a lot more about yourself, or maybe it's about the way people view you. But now being a mom to three, where like it's just a nonstop go type of thing, and also having businesses and other people to take care of, it's really not about not just me anymore, but taking the moment to train becomes that moment of time where I can really focus in on myself and what my life now looks like.
Are you ready to start building strength but feel overwhelmed by complicated workouts and influencers on social media? Foundations is your answer. If you're new to strength training and want a simple, effective way to get stronger, build muscle, and drop body fat, Foundations was designed just for you. What you'll need to get started are just 3 kettlebells. That's it. These 3 kettlebells are all you need to unlock your strength, start building muscle, and start seeing real results. There's no fancy moves, no complicated routines, just the basics that will help you to progress safely and confidently. What you'll get when you join: simple, proven exercises where you will master foundational movements like squats, deadlifts, and presses that will give you strength and confidence. A progressive training program, step-by-step video and written guidance to help you improve no matter where you are starting from. A safe, effective training routine. You'll get to focus on form and build a body that's strong from the inside out. And the best part, it's DIY. You can start right away, no waiting around. You just buy the program today and you get to start building strength from the comfort of your home. You don't need to be fancy to get strong. You just need a solid foundation and the right approach. Foundations is perfect for the woman who is new to strength training and wants to take it at her own pace. She wants to feel empowered, she wants to feel strong, and she wants to feel more confident in her body. If you're ready to begin, visit www.colleenconlon.com for more details and grab your Foundations program today. Again, all you need are 3 kettlebells. I'll take care of the rest. Do you think it was really hard for you at a stage, whether it was after having Nico or after having the twins, just coming to terms that, okay, things are different now? Or things are different in this moment. I mean, they're going to be different for the rest of your life, right? Going from single person to being a mom of three, it's never going to go back to the way it was.
No, there's, I wouldn't necessarily say it was super hard, but there are moments where I think back to when you and Tim had first moved out here, and we had even just all the time in the world, what it felt like to do whatever with each other, spend 3 hours working out and
Do you remember
just
when
be,
Jason was like teaching us how to use the barbell?
yeah.
Feel like
Yeah.
we were just in that room for so long.
We were in that room for so long. Like when I'm before this podcast started, I'm just telling Colleen I can't even take my laptop to go get fixed and work the camera, which is why I'm on this little phone screen. Like, when will I ever have that time again? I don't know. I should have treasured it a little bit more, but it's fun to look back on and be like, wow, I was trying to, do the flag on the pole for 3 hours one day, where now I, I think about 3 hours. I'm like, okay, 3 hours includes breastfeeding, prepping lunch, going on a walk with the kids, burping, putting down for a nap. Like, so many other things happen in 3 hours, where at one point it was just, we're just going to work out for 3 hours. And it's funny, Colleen and I share a client, and we were talking about, I didn't tell you this, but we were talking about just like scheduling and her being able to do your program one day where work had taken over, and she was like, oh, I'll just do it like a little later. And then I'm going to do this workout, and then I'm going to go do this. And I'm like, man. And she was talking about in her session with you that she can, like, she'll see you again tomorrow, and she'll see you again like the next day. So if she's going to just chit chat a little bit, she's good with it. Right. And she's okay taking it chill in her workout. And I'm like, yeah, at this point in my life, that 1 hour of time is like, how can I maximize this
Yeah.
1 hour of time? It is totally different. I would love to also just like chit chat for an hour and do some squats, but
Doesn't work that
it's
way.
not that. It doesn't work that way anymore. That's okay. But yeah, reflecting back, it wasn't necessarily hard, but it's just, I knew it was going to be different, right? If I went into it with the mindset of my life is going to look the same after having one kid and then having three kids, I think I'd be in for a rude awakening.
But you know what's so cool is I know you're in this stage where, you have to do all of the mom things, like that's number one. But I'm just having this visualization of the future of you and all the guys. And it's possible. It is so possible that in what, 15 years, all they're going to want to do is work out and get yoked, and you guys will live all
Totally.
day at the fucking gym.
I think so too. I really think so. I actually think once we build out a gym here, what we're going to do a renovation in our house, and we will build out a gym. By the time everything's complete, Nico will probably be like 5. I think that he'll actually want to train. Like right now, he's also in a class once a week. He spends an hour like doing obstacle course things, working on pull-ups, working on bear crawls. Like, it's a workout. It's called Kid Strong. It's really cute. And he enjoys it. And I know that he is going to want to do the things in the gym with us too. And in that time, we will be a very strong family together.
You will, I mean, sports teams look out, like you guys are going to be able to take on anything. And I think that's such a cool thing to think about. There's different seasons, and just because life changes, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be in one season forever. You were saying something before about, before having kids, I wish I like treasured this time a little bit more because it is so valuable. But at the same time, I would imagine like getting the opportunity to be mom to three under three at this point, that's also so special and so valuable for different reasons. So you don't want to
Totally.
like wish it away. It's just
No.
like being excited that, oh, there's always going to be something new to serve me and to fill my heart with, whatever the focus for this time period is.
Yeah, and I guess you say it changing with the season. Like, if you just look outside of your own life and think about literal seasons changing, like it's just a natural part of life, right? And we should just be embracing the fact that change is always going to happen, and it change is good because things grow, things die, and rebirths happen. And I think that's really an exciting part of life. And if we just keep trying to live it the same every day, think if you can live to 100 years, right? Is that enjoyable to do the same thing for the rest of your life exactly the same way? I
Sounds
don't know. Like,
terrible.
I don't think so. I think if we're embracing the way that the seasons go and we tune into that and actually say, I know change is going to come. I'm going to be adaptive and flexible. There won't be so much surprise, and we can find joy in the changes even if they don't look the same as the days of a 3-hour workout.
Yeah, absolutely. For anybody who's going through this season right now, and specifically to the newer moms who are listening to this, is there any closing words you would like to share with them?
Oh, yeah. I think you will be kind to yourself. Number one, be very kind to yourself and recognize that you have gone through a lot. Your body has done an incredible job. And you are just taking on something so new that you've never been in this place before. So try to learn from it and grow from it. But also, I think something that was super important to me was I was trying to control so much of everything in life very early on. Like, Nico needed to be sleeping exactly at these times. And if he didn't, then the rest of the day was going to be this disaster. And yeah, it was rougher if he was cranky. And then I would try to control like everything in that time, in these days, in this time frame. And then I just realized I can't control everything, right? And time will pass, the day will pass, and the day will go on, and there will be a new day. There will be a new day. You will move through it, and everything's going to be okay. I You won't control everything. You you won't be able to make every day look the same, and that's totally okay. I hope that made sense.
That
But I remember when it finally clicked to me one day, and I was like, "Oh man, yeah, that's okay. Tomorrow's just going to be a new day, and it's going to be fine, and we're going to start over, and that's it." We don't live in that same moment forever, right? Sitting there and rocking him to sleep. I'm like, is this ever going to end? Is this ever going to end? And then a month goes by and we're not doing that anymore because he's putting himself to sleep by himself. Wow, remember that time that was so funny that I thought it was such a big deal?
evolution.
Evolution. Yeah, embrace it.
Mm. Also, when you were talking earlier about swing to snatch and then just thinking about like pregnant you with twins, like I feel like I was getting ready to wrap up this conversation, but we can't wrap up this conversation. Can we just take a moment to talk about how fucking incredible the human body is? Like swing to snatch, you were so fucking ripped up, and then you held two humans inside of your body. Like,
Yeah, I know. I look at pictures because I don't think I realized even like how large everything grew out. Because honestly, like I had great pregnancies, very fortunately, and I felt really good and I loved being pregnant and I actually looked relatively good. Like I liked the way I looked pregnant. Wow, I was huge. I was so big. I can't believe my body was able to do that and hold two babies. And then a couple weeks later, just start to deflate and go back. It's it is insane, actually. We should do a side by side photo.
oh my,
Swing to snatch.
all of the pictures. I have to go like deep into the phone to find that stuff. It's been so long, but
I have an album. I got it.
but no, it's just, you know, talking about how priorities change, like the body can change. And, you know, I think something else that I have really loved seeing from social media is like seeing more older women who fitness and what that looks like, and seeing that, if you want the handstand at 60, or if you want the six pack at 60, or you want to, deadlift the heaviest weight at 60, like we have time.
We totally have that. Truthfully, I think that my prime in life is it's going to be later. It's I don't think it passed. I think that it's coming. It's going to be like my late 40s or my 50s, and I think that's going to be my golden eras.
Ooh, I
I
love that.
know.
I think a lot of people think it's, it's your 20s or
Yeah.
your 30s, and it's not
I,
necessarily.
yeah, I don't think so. I think we get wiser, we learn more about we more learn more about ourselves, we become more truthful with ourselves, we become more of the people we actually want to be as we're getting older, not the person like we thought we wanted to be. If you're like doing work and reflecting on yourself and doing all the things, right? But I think that all of that just grows and you start to learn and change and develop as you get older. And if you embrace that a little bit more, I think that getting older is going to be actually a lot more fun. And I really think that I'm going to even aesthetically look my best as I'm getting older.
You're gonna be a fox.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a fox.
Are you
I'm gonna
gonna?
be doing pistols
You
still.
are. Oh my gosh, guys. Marissa, I don't know. Man, I feel like kettlebells are just so deceiving for how strong someone is. Like, guys, this woman right here just pulled a 24-kilo pistol squat out of her back pocket. I remember watching and just like jaw dropping, like, what the fuck is she doing? I had no idea you had that kind of strength during
Me
that first
neither.
kettlebell competition. That was bananas.
Me neither.
I agree with you in terms of the aging stuff so much. And I think, I don't know where I heard this is definitely some woo shit or something to do with the moon, where it's like women don't become like who they're supposed to be, or like they don't come into themselves until they hit 30. And then I feel like, at least for me, I've done all of this like work in therapy. I'm 32. I feel like I'm finally living without, trying to people please other people. Like,
Oh,
if this
yeah.
doesn't work for you, okay, like I'm gonna go do my thing. And it almost feels, yeah, you're 32, but you just started living because you don't give a fuck about, you know, upsetting people anymore. Or not upsetting people, but like disappointing people. Like, I'm at a point where I'm just like, the person I don't want to disappoint, I don't want to disappoint me. And if that means disappointing somebody else, I guess I'm going to disappoint somebody else. But I think once you really do start to discover yourself, and we don't know when we're going to die. I could walk outside the house right now and I
Yeah.
could get struck by lightning or a
Let's hope not.
sandstorm. It was like the mummy yesterday in Arizona. I don't know if you
Oh my
experienced
gosh.
that. It was crazy.
Our basketball hoop fell down.
Yeah.
A big basketball hoop. It fell. Like all of our stuff is everywhere.
So I understand that we might not all have, another 30, 40, 50, 60 years, but let's say you do. There's so much time. And
There's
there can be
so
all of these different seasons of your fitness if you want that to happen. And, if you want to keep doing the same thing, I'm not going to say you can't keep doing the same thing. Like, something I believe is everybody should always be doing something to help continue to grow muscle, right? Because we need
Yep.
to be independent. We need to be
Agreed.
doing some type of functional training so that we are able to be independent as we age, no matter what. But in regards to all the other stuff, like if you want a season where you want to be, the crazy hand balancing person, or you want a season where you are just like running the marathons, or you are doing, this, that, or the other, go enjoy your seasons. Go enjoy this life that is such a gift. I think it's called the present for a reason.
Yeah,
Life is a gift. So go enjoy it and create what you want.
totally. Yeah. And exactly. Every season can look different. And then when you reflect back, I think, and say, oh, that was the season like I ran a marathon. Like that was the season I did my 24 kilo pistol squat. you become so proud of yourself because your body has been able to handle so many different things, and that's incredible. And I think that goes to show how adaptive you can be in your body and you can be in your life. And just having that adaptability and flexibility mindset too, I think leads to a lot less of a stressful life.
Do you think it's stressful to take on too much at once?
Yeah,
I feel
it
like
can.
I said that as like a trick question. I think it's a lot to take on too much
I
at
think
once.
I think I think it can. I does, I don't know. Too much for everyone. Too much looks like is different for everyone, right?
Sure,
Like,
absolutely.
but yeah, I think you need to learn your threshold, and then once you pass that, right? In Grey Institute, we call it a threshold of success, and this is more in relationship to movement. Squatting with 150 pounds, I'm successful there. Squatting with 160 pounds, I'm not successful there. I can't get the same depth. I don't have the same form. So we need to always tune it back to our threshold of success. We stay there, we live there for a little bit, and then once we're able to move on, we increase the threshold of success. We like increase that zone, and that zone changes, and then you can change and adapt with that zone, right? Think that you can probably say, okay, here's the bubble I'm good to live in, and stretching outside of that becomes a little too much, and you gotta
Mm.
tone it back.
Is there anything that you have thought about doing in fitness that maybe you've never tried yet, or you've never, necessarily thought I'm going to pursue it, but it's on you? So I kind of believe like we only start thinking about things if they're for us. I think if
Mm.
everybody dreamed of becoming a professional basketball player, everybody would be trying to achieve that thing. And not everybody's trying to achieve that thing. Or maybe there's a lot of people who want to be professional basketball players, but like maybe not everybody wants to be like I don't know, like a breakdance fighter, right? If that is the thing you're being called for, it's probably because it's for you. Is there anything that you have yet to do in fitness that you're just like, damn, I can't wait for the day where that's what I get to prioritize?
There's two things that come to mind, and they're just like very different, and they might shock you.
I think
Well,
you want to swing the English channel.
what? No. But swimming can be part of it. I've always wanted to do a Spartan race.
You've never done one?
No.
Did you know me and Tim used to do them? Like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I would love to like actually really do one at some point in my life. And that's Morgan. She holds down my household.
You have a whole team to do a Spartan race with.
Yeah, I do. Maybe that's what we'll do when Nico turns 5. We'll do a Spartan race.
Wait, do you know they have kids Spartan races?
Oh no.
Yeah, they like have a whole little mini course for kids.
Mm, that's what I'm Googling when this is done.
Okay.
So that's one. And then I think it's more because of the discipline. I've always thought about doing a bikini like competition. You know what I'm talking about? Like an NPC,
Yeah.
like one of those girlies who is super fit looking, muscular, but like really lean and like probably only eats
So orange.
yeah, 1 million grams of protein a day. That's also up there for me.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's just about being able to say, I've been this disciplined to
Mm.
get me here. I like having structure and having something to follow. I like having that guidance and having some sort of goal to work towards. And I think that's why I did so well in Swing to Snatch. I did so well doing a keto diet. I'm not recommending everyone do these things,
Guys,
but
Marissa crushed keto and keto crushed me. She's the one that I did keto with. And yeah, you had like all the success and I was a fucking hot mess.
yeah, I mean, you know what though? I'm proud of myself because I feel like I did it and was not like, I need to keep this up for the rest of my life, right? I was like, oh, this is like a fun challenge for me and I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's like the healthiest thing in the world to do, but I liked having something to really work towards.
I think there's something rewarding when it's like, this is the goal, we're going to do it for X amount of time. And,
Yeah,
when you see that you can overcome that, it feels good. It builds confidence.
yeah,
Being able to be proud of yourself for following through is such a positive feeling.
exactly. And right now, I feel like the discipline in my life is like discipline that I put on my kids in a way. It's like more about them having a really routine oriented schedule. Like they're the ones who have the routine, and I'm just like working around that. But people all the time are like, wow, like it's just the way that I can live and work my life. People are so surprised all the time. Okay, I know that they're going to be sleeping from this time to this time. And they're like, you know that they're going to be sleeping then? Yeah, like we do. They have a consistent structure. It's the way that I thrive the best. They thrive the best. And it's like also the only way I can work. So needs to be this way.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, the your workouts might not be the super disciplined workouts, like maybe this bikini goal could be
Yeah.
one day, but the kids' routine, that's where the discipline really is shining right now in this season.
Yeah. Do you have a big goal? Like something that you haven't done?
I like go back and forth if I want to go back after that Guinness record.
Hmm.
It's something that like some days I'm like, I'm totally gonna do this, and then other days I'm just like, that fucking sucked. To do it 3 times would be miserable, but there's also a part of me that's, no, I could do it. I could totally do it. So
You could do it.
I think about that sometimes, and I feel very confident that if it really is something that I want to do, I could do it. But again, like if I were to do that, the way I train right now, it will look, I would still be primarily, working with kettlebells, but the style would be so different. Like right now, I'm not
Yeah.
really doing anything in regards to endurance. I'm doing a lot of hypertrophy work, and I'm really excited to be in a phase where I can go back to doing a lot more body weight stuff. Because this past year, I don't even know if we talked about this. I know I've seen you, but I don't really know if we've talked. Like, I had a big goal this past year of putting on as much muscle and strength as possible. So I ate in a surplus.
I knew
We knew
well,
this, right?
I always ask you when we get together, like, how are you eating right now? Like, where are you at? Right?
I
Like,
know,
I
because
feel like
things have
I'm very
changed.
nice. I ask that question because that's going to dictate what we're going to be doing together. What are your nutrition goals at this moment? And you tell me, I'm eating surplus. I'm like, great. We can go eat that burger together.
We can go eat all of the things. But, because the goal was to put on as much muscle and gain as much strength this year, endurance work has been like, it hasn't been on the top of my mind at all. Whereas if I
Yeah.
were to go back into Guinness, the endurance work is going to now need to be a key component, at least for a chunk of time. So, mm, yeah, I could do it, but things would have to change in order to do it. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say there's anything else that's like really heavy on my heart. I'd consider doing a bikini competition with you.
Okay. Okay. It can't be while I'm breastfeeding. So like
Why don't we
that's
like
also the thing that plays into my goals right now is I just gotta feed the kids. So
maybe
I
we can
can't.
revisit this conversation in 10 years.
Everyone, stay tuned for season 100.
10 years bikini competition.
Yeah, I'll see
Maybe.
you there.
I'll see you there. Marissa, do you have any closing words for the ladies who are listening to this episode right now?
Ooh, you know, I feel like, Colleen, you put such great information out there. You are so open with people and listeners. And I love the person and the friend that you've become, especially more recently in the past year. I think that you've done so much work on yourself and you've been able to share so much of that with others. I think that what you have said and brought to the table about just living like for yourself, like backtracking and talking about the things that like really make you happy. I think it's really important that we all take the time to think about the things that make us happy so that when we are all in each other's presence and being in group dynamics, the happier we are with ourselves, we can improve the group dynamic and the relationships with other people around us. And I think that's just so important, is being true to who you are so that you can shed some light and improve the relationships with other people.
Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. If this episode hit home, don't forget to leave a rating and review. Women are stronger together, so share this with a woman who you want to see rise. When we embrace positive takeaways, we level up, and when we share them, we change the world. Follow us on Instagram at The Dangerous Women Podcast and let us know what you want to hear next. And remember, dangerous women redefine wellness and the world. So be fierce, be authentic, be dangerous.